Hello and welcome to Take Time. I'm your host Patrick Marlette and let's talk watch accessories. Now I actually have a couple of examples in front of me today. I have the canvas strap you see to the right here. I have a quick release leather strap that I left in the box so I can show you what that looks like. And I also have a leather NATO on my wrist. Quick disclaimer, I did receive these in from Barton watch bands for review. I'm not being paid for my opinions and they will vary, so be listening, Barton. Now before I get underway with the review, I just want to talk quickly about the packaging. The leather NATO that's on my wrist now, as well as some other items I was sent, came in a plastic bag. The bag was marked Barton. It was simple and nice enough. It came in a decent mailer, but the higher end straps, I guess I'll call them that, or at least the quick release straps, the canvas and leather variants, both came in a box like this. And mind you, this item right here is actually the most expensive one in front of me. This one was $24 directly off their website. This one, I believe, is $20, and this one is something like $18.50. But yeah, the packaging itself is really nice, so come to expect that. And there's a little bit of information on how the quick release works on the back, and of course, exactly what you have in the box. This is the espresso version of their quick release in leather. So, packaging fairly nice. Now, I want to talk about the gingerbread NATO leather strap first, so let's get right to it. Now, this is actually a 20mm width strap. I have it on a 22mm watch because the other two I'm going to showcase are both 22mm, so this made my life just a little bit easier. And so if you're wondering why there's a gap there, it's not that this strap was cut inappropriately. It's that it wasn't really meant for this watch. But I actually like when my watches fit like this sometimes. I don't know about you guys, but I don't mind the gap. Tell me your thoughts on that in the comment section down below, but it doesn't bother me at all. I had this originally on my Omega Dynamic, but it has since been living on a different leather strap that I'm completely enamored with. But on to the gingerbread review. Oh man, as you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of NATOs to begin with. I genuinely think that this is a redundancy. This little leather bit down here, the secondary strap, is a redundancy. I've never had a watch head slide around enough to curl over my wrist, and if the strap is actually fitted correctly, it's never going to move away from that central area on your wrist. That's why the second strap is there. It's to retain the watch head in this general area. It's so unnecessary. You can argue me otherwise, but I've never found the need for it. And usually when your watch settles into a strap, it'll leave a big groove in the strap, and it generally doesn't move away from that grooved area to begin with, but that's just my opinion. Personal feelings out of the way and concerns to NATOs, let's talk about the strap here. So Barton does a great job of offering you a quality item at a low cost. That's sort of their thing, and this strap here is no exception. You have 316L stainless steel with the buckle and tongue. You also have top grain leather constructing the two-piece NATO strap. It actually is detailed right there. You have their logo on the back as well as the strap size in case you're quickly going through your box of straps and you just want to grab one of these on the fly. And you can see the leather on the back, it's not double lined. You will see the raw end of the leather here. And, you know, this isn't really a strap you want to wear when you're doing arduous activities, things that will make you sweat, because it's not a pretty sight when this gets wet. It's not a huge issue, but it's not a strap I would want to sweat in. You know, this leather's not going to hold up as long as it should when it gets wet, so try not to get this too wet. Now this strap in its varying color options, I believe there's a black, a navy blue, a darker brown, come in two lengths. The length you see here is actually the 11-inch or the long length, whereas the regular length comes in at about 10 inches. Both of these sizes, being the standard and the long length, come with an 18mm, 20mm, or 22mm width, so you can put it on any watch you own, practically. Now, I went with the gingerbread coloring because I believed it paired best with most of my watch options, and it actually does look really nice with these straps and on the wrist. While it may look great on the wrist, I do have a few qualms with the construction of this leather NATO, and I'll get to that when I put this on the wrist. Now, I ordered the long length because I like to tuck in the extra bit of length under the keepers on these NATOs. And you'll see here that there's a pretty good tag sticking out of the end here, so it should be able to curve over and go into that second keeper. But here's one of my issues. The keeper itself is very thin and very tightly knit onto the strap. There's not much of a gap between the keeper and the strap itself. So when you go to tuck this in back under, there's very little room to ease this in. And because the keeper and the strap itself are both leather, they just drag alongside of each other, making it really darn near impossible to get this to comfortably tuck back in and under the keeper here. And that's just a huge frustration for me. Already, I'm coming from the angle of not really enjoying the mechanics of the Nato, but if you're new to Natos entirely, this is probably going to be a boiling point for you. You've seen how people wear these. You probably looked up a guide on how people wear these. And, at this price, this is probably your first venture into a Nato because it's reasonable. And again, the quality is great, but leather keepers is not a good idea. Leather keepers is never a good idea. I really wish that these keepers were made out of the 316L stainless steel. The leather would have been able to slide under them more easily. They could have provided more of a gap so that you could fit them in under there more easily. I don't know. It's just a problem for me. And you can wear this other ways. You can go over and under instead, and it works. And that's actually how I've been wearing this. But I don't necessarily. And even now, it's kind of dragging. But I don't necessarily like how that looks. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that's a good look. However, it does, again, aesthetically very pleasing. I like the gingerbread coloring. They have this color option on other straps. It looks really good. But with the leather Nato, I'm just not a huge fan. To end on a positive in concerns to this leather Nato, I will say that the spacing with the holes down here is fantastic. The long length, as well as the multitude of perforations, gives you great range of fitting options. So that shouldn't be an issue for most people. But these leather keepers, I absolutely hate them. I'm not a fan of this at all. Again, please, give me any alternative, like even like some sort of composite plastic, anything, soft silicone plastic, so it can sort of catch the leather and keep them in place. Or better yet, more steel. I think the steel would have complemented the buckle well too and looked really nice, but they are sewn into place very well. It looks good. I like the seamless aesthetic of having leather all over, but metal would have been better. That's all I have to say about this. Yeah, make this a $24 strap like the leather quick release option, and I think people would be just as satisfied paying a little bit more for something that wears just a little better. Now let's move on to the quick release straps. I have my Seiko SRP 775 off of its original spring bars, and I'm getting ready to put these guys on. I decided that it's probably better to illustrate how the quick release works for you on camera as opposed to just having them on the strap. So let me show you how these work. It's actually relatively easy. So with the spring bars removed, you can go ahead, I'm gonna put that to the side. We can go ahead, grab our strap, and you'll notice that on the backs of these straps, if you've never seen a quick release strap before, you'll notice that there is a ball head that controls this side of the spring bar. And when you push this pin down, it moves the spring bar. It scrunches it up, I suppose you could say, so that you can fit it inside of your watch. And I'll go ahead and illustrate that now. And this is actually one of the problems for me with this strap. Now you'll notice that the spring bars themselves are actually really small, and those ball heads recede in to the canvas strap. You can no longer see it. So gripping onto it, unless you have like long nails or don't mind digging this ball into your finger, is kind of difficult sometimes, and it's certainly not the quickest option for me. Quick is in the name, so I anticipated this being a quicker alternative to just using regular spring bars, but it does take a while to get used to, and it does take a while to operate, just because these things are so far buried in here. And let's go ahead and put this one on. Nope. So close, so close. There we go. Okay, strap on. This is what the watch looks like. So I've been sampling these two straps out on my Seiko SRP 775. I've really enjoyed these two looks with this watch, and I generally prefer the leather strap option more, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But let's talk about this canvas one while we have it on the watch. All right, so this canvas green option. Now, I think this 22mm strap with its built-in spring bars would work better on a watch that's not so robust. You'll notice that the spring bars here are very thin and they actually move around the watch case a whole lot. And it's not very reassuring that this is going to stay on your watch. And that's no fault of the strap. It's just the fact that these spring bars are too small, whereas, you know, the usual ones are fat. Like, these things are huge. The heads on these spring bars are really thick and fit perfectly with the watch because they were designed for this watch, but such is not the case with these guys in here. But, you know, after wearing it for a few months, I never had issues with it falling off. So, you know, that's just more of like a paranoia thing than it actually being a problem. But you can see what I'm talking about. They just flex and move around in there. You know, that might add to why this strap is so comfortable, and I'll actually get into that in a moment, by how much it flexes in there. But the strap itself, it's like very, very thin, nice canvas. It's measured to fit between a 5.5-inch wrist and an 8-inch wrist. So if your wrist falls anywhere within that frame, then you should be fine. It also comes with a 18, 20, and 22mm width, so you've got that there. But this, what they call high durable canvas, is pretty phenomenal, and it's actually held up very well. I went swimming with this, I showered with it. I used it again daily for a solid month, quick releasing this to this, depending on the occasion. And it's actually a really nice function. You know, that's the whole selling point of this strap range, is that you can alternate between something that's a little bit classier to something that's a little bit sportier, and this thing holds up. I really like it. I kind of want to show you guys what it looks like on the wrist next, as it does provide a really lovely aesthetic. Here is what the strap is going to look like for all of your admirers, and when you're going to admire it yourself, it's going to look a little something like this. And you can tell it's a nice fit on the watch. It is rather thin in profile, so I feel like this would pair better with other watches, but it is a sportier strap, so I feel like it should go with a sports and or dive watch. I would prefer the canvas to be a little bit thicker to match the kind of ruggedness of the SRP I have on my wrist, but that's okay. I like the stitch work itself. It looks really great. The holes are stitched up and they look like they've been heat treated on the inside so that they shouldn't fray as easily. The canvas keepers on the opposite end do a great job of holding this strap in, and you can see there's a good bit of length outside of the buckle, so the two keepers were necessary. And again, they do a fantastic job of holding this in place. I really do like this strap on the wrist, and I think this is the one I wore practically most, if not this leather option here from my Barton watch band offerings. I do have one minor complaint when it comes to this strap, and it's actually on the underside of the canvas here. This logo that was stitched into the underside of the buckle end of the strap tends to eat into your wrist, and these edges are rather sharp. I wish they had rounded them off or did a cleaner job of sewing this little patch of branding on the back, because it does dig into my wrist and it would irritate it throughout my day. Not the end of the world because it wasn't always apparent, but it is a relevant issue, and I did want to bring that up. You know, maybe they could do a printing on the strap instead, but that's for them to decide. Other than that, let's go ahead and remove the quick release here. I can illustrate how that's done, see if I can do it easily. Again, another one of those problems where quick really isn't in the name. Getting to remove these can be a little tricky sometimes, but again, once you've mastered it, it's not so bad. I'm going to put the canvas strap just off to the side here. Let's go ahead and put this leather option on. Alright, I saved you all the burden of watching me do that. I'm not horribly great with these quick release pins, but now the strap is on the watch and you can see what it looks like. Again, this is the espresso option, and by the way, all of these straps come with a range of different colors. I'm not going to list all of them here, but I will provide a link to Barton's site so you can view them yourself. The espresso is this dark brown, and I got the white accent threading around the edges of this strap. Now, neither of these straps taper at the ends. They're quite wide and they're quite present when you're wearing them. So if that look bothers you, then maybe this isn't a great option. Although again, the saving grace, or at least the key selling feature of this watch, is that it comes equipped with those quick release straps. So it's easy to go in and out of a sportier look to a slightly classier look here. Again, this watch is rated to fit a 5.5 to up to 8-inch wrist, so the same length approximately as our canvas option. It has the 316L stainless steel as well as the other straps did. This one comes in at $24 because it uses a very nice top grain leather that is double lined. So you've got this nice liner here. You're not dealing with the raw end of a leather strap, so it is a little bit more comfortable on the wrist. You've got the branding again on the left-hand side, except the measurement this time around is going to come on the tail end here, and you can see this one is measured at 22. Again, you have 18, 20, and 22 millimeter widths. Now, I really liked this strap option, and as a matter of fact, if you were in the market for a quick release leather strap, I would probably recommend that you check out Barton, if only for this option, because it is really phenomenal. The leather itself is done very well for the price. Of course, again, being $24. This is the most expensive amongst the range of items I showed you today, this one being $20 again, and this one being $18.50. But I do think that this one is of a better quality than its own competition. Now allow me to provide you guys with a look at the strap on the wrist. Now here is how the strap is going to look like for all of your admirers, and when you're going to admire it yourself, it's going to look a little something like this. Now as you can probably tell already, this strap is a little bit thicker than the canvas option, so it provides a really great look with your sports watch. And I know a lot of folks like wearing their divers on leather straps, so if you were looking for that quick release variant, this is a good way to get into that. I personally prefer a strap that tapers. I think the aesthetic is just a little bit more pleasing, but this doesn't bother me so much. 22 millimeters is rather wide, so getting the full length of that the whole way through can be a little overbearing, but it doesn't bother me so much. One thing I'd like to note on all of these straps here is that these buckle options aren't optional. So the brushed stainless steel, I should say, buckle here is always going to be on the canvas strap. This polished stainless steel buckle here is always going to be on this espresso leather quick release. I found no way on their site to, opt out for a brushed stainless steel buckle, but again, this uses a spring bar to keep this fixed onto the strap. So if you did have both options, you could remove this one and place it on here in case you wanted to have that look instead. Now Barton does more than just the canvas and leather strap options I've provided you guys today. They actually do a quick release of a silicone strap as well as more traditional nylon NATOs. I kind of wanted to highlight these ones though because they're relatively new to their range, and I've seen a bunch of them floating around in images on Instagram and so forth. And I can see that the popularity of them is trending, so highlighting them today was more for the new buyer. And I can say without a doubt that I genuinely enjoyed the quick release leather strap. I preferred it over this canvas one, although I do believe I wore this one more often than not, only because I like the ability to wear my strap, my watches rather, in water, and a strap that's going to have the tolerance to put up with that. So I generally had it on that more, but so far as aesthetic is concerned, look and feel, I had no issues with this leather option here. I would not recommend this one. It's not my favorite. If you were in the market for a leather NATO and you were looking for one affordably, you're going to get a good quality strap here, but my issues with the keepers were sort of a no deal for me. And I don't generally wear leather NATOs to begin with, so I don't have a great diversity of knowledge when it comes to leather NATOs. I know they are very popular amongst collectors, so if you guys have a brand of leather NATO you think is fantastic, leave it in the comment section down below and maybe I can compare it with that. And anyway guys, that'll do it for the video today. I hope you found my opinions on these straps insightful or in the least entertaining. If you like this video, feel free to hit that like button. If you have watched friends, forums, or groups and enjoyed this video, feel free to share it with them too. Again, my name is Patrick Marlett and thank you for the time.